Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure today to warmly welcome Dave Long, co-founder and chief executive officer of Orangetheory Fitness, to join us on a keynote interview. Dave joins us from the headquarters of Orangetheory in Florida in the US. It's been an incredible few years for the brand, and we'll touch on some of these components of growth and innovation and leadership across the course of the next 15 to 20 minutes or so. But Dave, a very warm welcome. How are things in Florida at the moment?
First off, Ross, thanks for chatting with me again. It's good to see you again and then catch up. And, things are well in Florida. We're still in the nice part of the year. It's not too hot or humid yet. Our studios are all reopened in the state. It's obviously our largest market with almost 150 locations. So those things alone put a smile on my face of getting back to a more normal time.
Now, it's going to be tough to do this, but I'm going to ask you nonetheless. Can you describe the last 12 months in either a few words or a sentence?
I think it was biggest challenge of my career, and but also a time of learning more probably in a year than the previous, some of the previous years combined. So try to take the good with the bad there. But I think just learning and adapting has been kind of our theme and our headline.
Now, Orangetheory are operating across 50 states, 26 countries, Dave. It's quite incredible how quickly you've grown. Over the course of the pandemic, of course, you've had to put out a new fire every day. There's a new problem to overcome. There's something that's kept you up in the middle of the night. How have you managed to lean on your skills, your wisdom, your knowledge to try and get through this pandemic positively? And then also to try and share that with your team. How have you managed to do that?
Yeah, I think fortunately the key word is team. And, I think we were grateful that going into this, it was an unknown, but we had built a really strong muscle about being tenacious, about sticking together, both our headquarter team, our franchisees. So I think having that going into this was really our secret weapon of how we were able to stick together and weather all types of different storms and new surprises around the corner. And I believe that, right out of the gate, we really upped our communication and our collaboration with our franchise network and with our teammates, so that we were making sure that everybody knew that we were in this together and nobody felt like they were out there by themselves. And I think it was that collective, our team stepped up unbelievably at HQ and out in the field. And we really leveraged even more this testing and collaboration with our franchisees. As you know, we've had to do a lot of new things over the last year, but having them, really, tightly knit with us allowed us to, weather the storm together. And I think it was that collective group that really ended up being the differentiator for us over the past now 14 months.
Things are moving so quickly now, but I think the green shoots are now coming. Recovery is seen. We're starting to see rebound growth in some of the kind of areas like China and Australasia. As you're looking across your portfolio of countries, you're obviously seeing some of the trends and behaviors of your members. What are you seeing as businesses reopen? Is there things you're getting, some insights you're feeling from this?
We are, and obviously it varies, for like, the China market where we have multiple studios in Shanghai, they've been setting records now for months. So as a leading indicator, that's exciting to see as a market gets back to a normal time period, how the consumer behavior is. And then of course, our biggest sampling is in the US. And obviously it varies by market, but when we look at workout traffic by member, our members, our former members' willingness and being excited to come back, it's really, all the indicators are really strong. And now we're starting to see that shift to people wanting to enter the fitness space or get back into fitness that maybe had never touched Orangetheory. So when you look at those things together, we're really bullish on the future. Obviously, it depends on vaccine and the market and all those variables, but I think the momentum is really picking up. Every month in 2021 for us has been better than the previous as far as new trial and new joins. So we're working just to keep building on that month over month, although still going to be, a multi-month haul to come, fully out of, the numbers that we're used to doing each month.
Now, 2020, as you said, was probably the most challenging year we've ever saw as business owners and business leaders. But still in 2020, you experienced new studio openings and some growth. Can you reflect back on a few milestones that you still achieved in 2020? And looking ahead at this year, not just what's happened in the past few months, but for the remainder of the year, where do you see growth? What is coming up for Orangetheory?
Yeah, it was amazing that we, even giving everything that happened last year, we still opened almost 80 new locations, most in the US, but even some of the international markets opened a few locations. Japan, through this, actually almost doubled in size by a studio count in 2020, which was just unbelievable to even kind of consider giving everything happening. And as we go into this year, our kind of base is at least 100 new studio openings. Again, probably 80%, 75, 80% in the US, but we're now seeing multiple, international markets like China, like Japan, even some of the Latin American countries are adding units. Canada is going to add units. So we're seeing that groundswell of getting back to the growth that we're used to. 250 new studio openings had been our norm. So I think that's going to be a 2022 goal that I believe we'll get back to, but we're building on that today. Our franchise pipeline, as far as franchisees that are geared up and looking for sites, is actually back to early 2020 numbers, but it's just the cadence of now them identifying locations. And we're going to see probably a record Q1 of 2022 of new openings to the marketplace, both domestically and international.
Now, one of the observations we've saw, Dave, and I'm sure you've saw this as well, is over the past 12 months, the success of a franchise has really been dependent upon the success of the support system around that franchisee, how confident they are to move their business forward in terms of a crisis. The franchise offering has always been strong for Orangetheory Fitness. There's no wonder that you've got such a huge number of franchisees, but of course, improvements can still be made. How have you taken the last 12 months to strengthen further the investment case for a franchisee coming into the Orangetheory family?
I think obviously the premise of how special and amazing the Orangetheory product is hasn't changed. And I think it's actually probably going to be even more important to the world as we go forward. So that piece being in place is obviously really important. And I think, as I spoke to earlier, the foundations that we had built with our franchisees over the years, and that I think we even accelerated this collaborative process, and we launched a ton of things in the last 12 months so that our franchisees would be able to be even more successful when they come out of this. And of course, they had to play a huge role in that with change management. We launched a new custom CRM software globally and kind of took advantage of, you remember that 2-month period where almost everything was shut down. Well, we actually stepped on the gas to roll out technology where you had studios and employees that were a bit idle or reduced for a period of time. So I think coming out of that, if you look at just the Orangetheory foundation of product and technology, it's actually much stronger than it was March of 2020. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get there, but it puts us in a situation where whether you're already in the Orangetheory system or someone that's looking at it, the concept and the foundation and the building blocks are actually stronger, like I said, than a year ago, which just puts us in a really good position to have even more rapid growth as we continue to come out of the constraints that are on us externally.
Let's stick on technology. One of the things we saw most exciting from Orangetheory last year was Orangetheory Live coming out. And it was hugely popular, of course, as the pandemic was hitting hard across many of the hard-hit countries, Dave. What are your thoughts for the future of Orangetheory Live? It's obviously an important part of the business, but where do you see it evolving to? How are you going to be investing in that going forward? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we're thrilled about getting it off the ground so quickly. It had been on our roadmap for probably 2022, so we came ahead pretty quick and pulled that in. And so, in that short period of time when everything closed very suddenly, we launched Orangetheory at Home so we could deliver a daily free workout to the world. I think now over 20 million workouts were taken during that platform. And that was really, an intermediary while we accelerated the Orangetheory Live platform. We always knew we wanted to bring live coaching, to not just in the studio, which is our bread and butter, but to wherever people are and meeting them where they are during, even if it's one time a week or one time a month. And so that it served an amazing, period over the last 4 or 5 months where studios were either closed or completely capacity constrained. And our members and even a lot of new folks to the system are loving still getting the live coaching and the science and the heart rate monitoring of what we do. But there's obviously more convenience to do that anywhere. So when we think of going forward, we're gonna use that because members are coming twice a week. Maybe they want to get a third workout a week, and we can offer some different with our core offerings, but also some different products. We have OT Lift, which is strength based, which we're going to roll out also through the Orangetheory Live platform. We started servicing some healthcare populations in the US, one through Optum, which is 65 and over. We're curating custom programming for them. So they can absolutely come into the studio. But if you think about getting them kind of game ready for some of the Orangetheory workouts, there'll be a whole series of content and also recovery content. So almost every other vertical, even some of the medium and large companies in the US and international, they want us to give them curated programming that is not limited to the studio. They want to have the flexibility to also take their populations through a live, platform workout. So that's where we're really excited, and we're working really hard to still the blocking and tackling of delivering, our typical Orangetheory workouts today through that. And we're still growing that. We're adding, 20, 30, 50 studios a week onto that platform. But then if you think long-term, it's all the things I've been describing where it can service different populations and different modalities through through the same hub, which is really exciting for us.
I think one of the most exciting things to come out of this whole pandemic is interacting and engaging these new demographics. The 80% of people that aren't necessarily coming to studios, how are we building programs, how are we building initiatives to try and bring them into our network? Very encouraging. Let's switch tacks a little bit. We've talked about the franchisee, we've talked about the members. One of the things that doesn't really get talked about is the master franchisee, Dave. I think that's going to be so important, as you know, to unlocking new growth in the marketplace. Now, speaking from experience, you work with multiple multi-franchise holders. What are your thoughts on the moment on what makes a good multi-franchisee? How do you think they have to prepare to be one? I think a lot of people at the moment perhaps are maybe a franchisee considering being multi-site or a master franchisee. What makes for a good multi-site and or a master franchisee? It's a big step up, but of course, some of the people are willing to take it.
It is, I think, and it's been a huge focus of the brand, both our master franchisees internationally, and we have multi-unit folks in the US that are now growing to 75 plus locations. So it's a different, it's a different, deeper platform to make sure we're supporting. And so I always talk about the tightrope with a master franchisee. You want a great entrepreneurial partner, but you also have to work together to deliver the system and make sure that you have the foundational system in place, which for Orangetheory, the consistency of the product and the coaching is what makes us as great as we are. So we've really worked hard to line up what are the best skills of a master franchisee, being able to build a world-class team, focus on the product, be experts in their marketplace so they can, find the real estate and do all the mechanical things to get great locations open. Where we've been really leaning in to continue to, just kind of have a really good collaboration is how do we curate the right marketing program side by side with the master franchisee so they can win in their marketplace, which might be slightly different messaging and media mix and all of that. And how do we lean in to help them identify the foundation of that world-class team? If you think about, the operations and the coaching and the continuing education that we need to provide, that's where we've spent a ton of time. And we're doing a lot more, our strategy going into 2020 was a lot more time in international marketplace. So, not spending a week there, but spending 4 to 6 weeks in market. We did that back in, January 2020 in Japan. As we come out of things, we're going to be back in the international market side by side with the master and spending weeks with them. And that's where we're seeing, it maybe breaks the rules of efficiency, but we're seeing huge relationship and our ability to build momentum by spending a lot more time in the marketplace side by side. And then when we go away, there's just a deeper understanding on both sides of what we're trying to do. What does great coaching look like? What are the right leaders that master needs to build? As we go into the future, our future growth is almost all dependent on master relationships internationally. And so that's where, that's a top 3 focus for us to continue to unlock how to get that right.
Well, look, exciting times ahead. I know we're cramped for time here, so let me just ask a couple of last minute questions, Dave. For perhaps those that are looking at you just now, needing some inspiration, needing some words of wisdom, what closing words could you share with them to try and make sure people see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, it's been such a journey for us, our franchisees, even our members. And I think, the communication and the constant collaboration around, for us, how important fitness is, and probably more important than ever. And to make sure that there's just a lot of reminders of sticking together. So everything from, we've thrown everything at, our teams of what helps them. Is it mindset training? We still do virtual happy hours. So there's no silver bullet, but I think it's the willingness to keep working together and finding solutions to stay connected. It was really challenging for us to be remote. And so now we're getting back to being able to be in person and making sure we're maximizing that efficiency and that work-life balance of some remote, some in person. We all did these, if you can see that, we did these bracelets at the beginning of the year with our 2021 kickoff where you picked a word for the year. And my word is fire, because it's keeping the fire of how important exercise and wellness is, and making sure that as we come out of this, everybody's a bit tired at times of the last period for a number of reasons. but focusing on the now and then going into the future. I took a workout at one of our studios in Atlanta, and being back in that studio and talking to those members, some of which had just joined and just had that light bulb go off of how they could get so much out of exercise. So I think for us, being a champion of just exercise and wellness in general, we want to make sure that we're collaborating. I think regardless of the company or the exercise modality, we need to work together to continue to make exercise and wellness a priority going into 2021. So that's our focus. That's why I chose FIRE, to make sure that every day I'm thinking about keeping that burning and keeping that message going.
Now, we started this interview by asking, reflecting back in the last 12 months, what your few words or sentences would be to describe those 12 months. Let's look forward 12 months. Final thoughts, Dave. What words, what few sentences will describe your next 12 words? And feel free to use FIRE in those.
So yeah, I think we have a huge excitement of what the future is going to bring now. I think there's a huge amount of confidence in the momentum of just, not just our brand, but in wellness in general, and keeping people's attention to make their lives better coming out of it. So for us, it's this balance of we have to deliver on the fundamentals, and there's still a lot of blocking and tackling to get back to where we're used to being. Balancing that with what we talked about, which is how do we use innovation and new platforms and products to make us even better and deliver what we're trying to deliver to a lot more people. We're touching more than 1 million people. We want to touch millions of people through this and be kind of a beacon of people making wellness and fitness a part of their routine. So that's the future. I think the next 12 months is going to be much more fun than the last, and we're going to really try to capitalize that each day and get the most out of it.
Excellent. Well, look, Dave, congratulations for being so positive, for flying the flag so well, for showing that growth can happen, even in the toughest and darkest of times. So huge respect and huge thanks for your team and for your continued support of what we're doing. Thanks very much, and we'll see you again very soon, Dave.
All right. Thanks, Ross. So good to connect with you, and take care. We'll talk soon.